Good morning, soul sisters. Welcome to my channel. I am Angel, and this is Notes on a Lazy Sunday, where I share my life, learning, and lessons for the benefit and expansion of the Sisterhood, a space for Black and deeply melanated women to commune and connect. So grab your coffee or tea, but don't spill it. Settle down, snuggle up, and lean in. Hello, sisters. I guess with any enterprise such as this, the first thing to do is to start with a bit of an introduction. Um, my name is Angel, and for a long time now, I have believed that there's a voice missing in the cultural conversation that we see out in the universe, stratosphere, multiverse, whatever you want to call it, in that space that the media occupies. Um, and it is the voice of the Black woman. I myself am a deeply melanated Black woman, fiercely proud of it. Um, However, I do believe that many of the experiences that we have in life, in our growth, upbringing, the environments that we are live in, for many of us, which, yes, despite the fact that we are growing and progressing, um, and have been for the last, well, at least 5 decades of my life, some things are still the same. And there are still things that I believe we need and can share with one another to help make this existence and our journeys a little bit easier, a little bit less isolated, a little bit less brutal in some ways. And so that is my hope with this. I'm also a deeply spiritual person, so I really don't know how this will evolve. Yes, it will be sharing, but I may well drop some spiritual stuff in there. Obviously, these are all my thoughts and opinions. These are all learnings that I've taken from my journey here thus far. And in the sharing, my hope is that other women can find comfort, can find community, can feel less alone in some of the things that perhaps they're going through, and also a place where we can celebrate joys and progress and just the highs that we deserve, which, but for many of us, sometimes are lacking in our lives. A space where we can feel that we're not alone in this, because I think as a Black woman, many of us are on a journey which is at times isolated. And my hope is that in the deep connection that we can find, if we reach out to one another, it can only be beneficial. It's not going to be a space that suits everyone. That's fine. There are plenty of spaces for us to connect to. Um, so, however many people feel drawn, however many sisters and women feel drawn to this space, my hope is that you get some solace, that you feel it a space where you feel safe, and that you feel you see yourself and are recognized and feel love. I'm not scripting this, so I'm not quite sure what will come out in these few minutes that I'm here to introduce myself. But I hope that what does come out is of value. So, why am I doing this and why now? I guess I'm doing this because Spirit has called me to use my voice. One of the things that I have always been, or I've always felt since childhood as being criticized for, is my voice. I sing, I love to sing, I have an opinion. I am and was a reader. And so I was always interested in words and learning, and was, wanted to kind of express those things and speak to people about what I was learning. But I was often chastised for that. Now I recognize now that much of that was because some of the adults and caregivers around me were intimidated by that. But as a child, you don't know that and you don't understand that. And so for me, as I've grown in this life and I recognize that often the soil that we were first planted in is not necessarily the most nutritious, shall we say, for some of us. There was much criticism, often a feeling of that I need to shut up, swallow my opinions, my thoughts, my song. For me, that manifested in literally like strep throat every single year for at least a decade. Until I got into my early 20s, when in the end I had to have my tonsils out because they were so blackened and decaying. Later in life, as I became more aware that there is, because I was always aware as a child that there was a spiritual element, but you can't articulate it. You can't put words to it. I just a feeling that there was something in this life other than this physical body and this life that we were living. As I grew more into that and did more research, learned about things like the chakras, I recognized why it was my throat that was my challenge, because I was swallowing my voice. I was shrinking myself. I was not expressing my creativity. And as I've grown into the decades, I recognize that regardless of how, in some spaces and among some people, sometimes my physical presence just seems to be an offense to people. However, I can no longer keep myself shrinking, second guessing my opinions and my thoughts. I recognize that I am a person who has a good heart. I love humanity. I want the best for all of us. I recognize and know through talking to Spirit that we each of us have gifts, and our job is to identify them, nurture them, love them, and express them, because each of us has something to impart to humanity. And for me, I am recognizing that my voice, whether it be having a wonderful conversation for 10 minutes on the bus into the city centre with someone and making them feel better about themselves, whether it be that in a capacity of teaching and sharing who I am and helping to develop young people, which I have done, and I did for a good 14, 15 years, whether it be singing in a more conventional kind of creative capacity, or whether it be in this format now, speaking to you here, that my voice is my superpower. My love of humanity is my second one, and my hope here is that I combine the two. But as I said previously, I am a Black woman, a dark-skinned Black woman. And as I go through this life, I notice that there are so many voices out there. Yet for me, the Black woman's voice seems to be sadly lacking. I know there probably is in pockets. I'm not saying it doesn't exist at all. And I feel that perhaps that's a space that I can contribute something to. I have had an eventful life. There have been learnings, a lot of learning along the way. And my hope is that in sharing that learning, that others who come behind me, others who've gone before me, and others who are maybe my peers in terms of chronological age will get some kind of insight, comfort, and learning from what I've experienced in this life. At the end of the day, sharing can never be a bad thing, can it? So whatever you get from this, I would happily love to hear from you. So why this format? Why just my voice? As again, I recognize that my voice is quite a powerful one, which has caused me some problems in life. But I'm not prepared to shrink it anymore. I'm not prepared to shrink either the energy that I carry in this soul that's housed in this body, nor the sound of my voice. Many people have said to me, especially the children that I taught, that they love the sound of my voice. Some of my favorite YouTube videos and people that I listen to One in particular, because I love tarot. It's a tarot reader who just uses her voice. And I just thought that that's such a powerful impact. The other reason is I'm still growing into this, and I'm actually feel a little bit of imposter syndrome. And even though the muse spirit is calling me to do something, I'm still nervous about how I do this. So I didn't want it to be about what I look like visually. I didn't want the pressure of, oh my gosh, are my nails right? What will people think? I didn't want that. And I just think a sound cutting through when you're sitting with your coffee on a lazy Sunday morning for 10, 15, 20 minutes could be quite soothing and could be impactful. So that's the reason why. Why sharing my life and lessons? Because I've often found when I've done that in real life, it's been of great benefit to people, and it has actually been quite a shock to me as to why. But again, it's when you have a gift, when you have a calling, when you have increasingly you have to follow it, because there's a frustration and a feeling of being almost like choked up if you don't, and a feeling of being unfulfilled. So this is one of the reasons why I feel compelled to sit down and speak to you, and it's soothing for me too. It heals my heart to share. A couple of years ago, well, in fact, probably more than a couple now, quite a few years ago, I was dedicated and wrote a blog for 2 years, and it was called Notes on a Lazy Sunday. And every Sunday I would get up and I would just sit and be inspired and write and share. And that received some really positive feedback. Some of the topics were quite painful for me to share. However, I do believe, and I'm a person who believes very much that I need to be vulnerable and authentic in order for the message and the feeling. More importantly, I'd like to think that there's a feeling that I generate that resonates out into the universe and touches the hearts and the minds of those Black women who are listening, and indeed any women who are listening, because there's no restriction on who listens. But my focus is for Black women to connect in this space and learn from my experiences as a Black woman on this planet in the here and now. Because there's no denying that, even though my personal belief is that we are all souls who are equal, absolutely, and the number of people that I've met in my life thus far, numbers, the tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of that, well, maybe not quite hundreds, but tens of thousands, we are all same. However, the lives that we have come here to live in this 3D world are stratified, and have been stratified according to our sex, male, female energies, and how that presents, stratified according to race, and whether we're light skinned, dark skinned, whitey, Asian, indigenous, and those come with positives, and in a lot of cases, especially the deeper the melanin, negative experiences. And those negative experiences can be quite what's the word, testing. All right. And when people are tested, and when people are struggling, or also when there's not a lot of space for Black joy, then it's nice to know that you can hold hands with someone across the universe and share in those experiences. It helps dissipate and minimize and soothe the negative ones, and it helps enhance the more positive ones. That blog, I had spinal surgery, and in my recuperation process, there must have been a lot of emails that were coming through WordPress. And because I wasn't in a position to respond in my 5 months or so, when I got off my recuperation period, my blog was gone, because WordPress had closed the site down. And I realized that I was kind of heartbroken. It was a deep loss. And so when I was sitting here thinking about what I could do to offer myself to the world and to Black women in the world, I thought, well, maybe I could do a kind of vocal blog, which would be easier and take less time to produce. It would probably have more impact, as I said, because I do think audio cuts through and you haven't got the distraction of the visual kind of pulling your attention. And I would be able to, and know I'd be committed to it because I've done that before. I was consistent every week for 2 years. So this is why I've chosen this format. I hope it resonates with you. I hope you get something out of it. Topics will range. I will just sit and wait to be inspired as to what it is I feel I need to speak to you about or need to share. So it may be things that I've learned in my youth, as a young child, experiences from more recently. It may just be insights that I've had. It may just be my opinion on things, and that may be controversial. If I say anything that may be triggering or potentially triggering, I'll try and put a disclaimer at the beginning. Some of the things I hope to share and the insights that I've had through some of my experiences may well be, what's the word? Emotionally emotionally challenged. I mean, let's use the word challenging. I've used it already, but I can't think of another one at this moment for me to share. But I am recognizing that I'm actually becoming quite fearless, and I really don't care anymore because I'm in a space where I know I'm okay. I'm an okay human being. I'm a spirit, a soul walking in this avatar, which you can't see, but hey. And I'm beginning to learn that I need to love myself and honor myself. And I'm hoping that as you follow me on my journey through that, that you'll feel that you can do the same and that indeed you will do the same because we are all amazing. And there was nothing that taught me that more than being an educator for 14, 15 years. I absolutely adored every single one of those children that sat in front of me. They were stunning. They had gifts that they couldn't see, but I could see. And I hope as an educator that I conveyed that to them. What it did do was give me a greater love of myself because I recognized, well, I was one of those children and I have gifts too, and I'm okay. And I need to learn to love myself. And teaching was one of the greatest gifts I was ever given in my life. And I resisted it for so long, but spirit knows best. And spirit will keep knocking and prodding and poking until you pay attention. And this is another prod from spirit. Spirit's been prodding me for a while, and I've been shy and nervous, and I've had imposter syndrome. But I feel I found a way that I can express and communicate without being fearful. And as I grow more into confidence of self, maybe I will reveal, maybe I won't. I actually quite like the idea of just an audio. But the hope is that for today, you've gotten to know a little bit more about me, that I provided something and a product that you will feel has value in your life. If that's the case, please continue to tune in. I will be uploading a video on a weekly basis on a Sunday. So, as it says, grab your coffee or your tea and settle down, snuggle up and lean in. But for now, I'll leave it there for this introductory episode. I hope it was thought-provoking, provided some comfort, some insight. My aim always is to create a space for connection and comfort for the Black female collective and whoever resonates with my message. For now, I wish you love, light, and prosperity as you journey to your greatest you.